High Society, the Regency, yes, oldest and most lavish hotel, and Cerebus's last hope in his search for a room and food. He carries with him a last few pieces of loot he intends to sell on the black market in the sprawling port city. He prepares himself for the inevitable battle with the hotel guards, an inconvenience that ordinarily keeps the Earth Pig away from such snobbish establishments. He is grateful that his mood is so grim. It will make the job of intimidating the desk clerk easier. And the Earth Pig's mood, dampened by endless miles of swamp, is grim indeed. He scowls at the desk clerk even as he enters the lobby.
They must breed them for arrogance,
thinks the aardvark as he approaches noisily. No rooms. Sorry.
Cerebus has just carried this sack over 50 miles through the worst swamps in Astarcian. Now, if you don't want Cerebus to force feed you to one of those stone lions outside, you...
Cerebus? Did you say Cerebus, sir?
Aye, Cerebus the aardvark.
Henry, take over for me. I'm sorry, sir, we had no advance notice of your arrival. I'll show you to your room.
Room? Okay.
If you'll leave your bag down here, one of our boys will take it.
That's why Cerebus is keeping it with him.
Yes, of course. You'll want a bath before eating.
Nay, the river is too far and too cold now that the sun is down.
Actually, I was thinking more along the lines of a bath here in your room, sir. I took the liberty of having one drawn for you.
Oh, aye.
I'll be back within the hour, sir. Cerebus undresses slowly. He now had a room and would soon have food. Why, then, was his mood getting worse instead of better? It was all the desk clerk's fault, Cerebus decided. The Earth Pig had arrived quite ready to fight for a room, and the clerk was taking perverse satisfaction out of making the whole process too easy. Cerebus intended to start a fight with someone if it took the whole rest of the evening.
You expect Cerebus to eat in the middle of a crowd? What kind of a...
Certainly not, sir. We've set aside a private room for you, sir.
Terror. Cerebus wants prime rib of yak with rum and raisin sauce.
Yes, sir.
4 bottles of Chateau d'Urgien.
Yes, sir.
4 different years. And for dessert, any fruit that's out of season.
Yes, sir.
Cerebus gives up.
Haddon. Holland M. Haddon of Haddon, Haddon and Dip. I simply can't tell you what an honor it is to meet you.
Go away, or Cerebus is going to strip mine your face.
Oh, ha ha ha. Yes, very good. I want to ask you to consider gold-plated street lamps.
You have 5 seconds.
5 seconds. Hardly enough time for a full-scale presentation, as I'm sure you'll agree, sir.
1.
But time enough to mention Haddon, Haddon and Dip one more time.
2.
To remind you, gold-plated street lamps are a good investment as well as an unbeatable tourist attraction.
3.
And to give you this certified check for 700 Easton crowns payable to
4.
Cerebus the aardvark. 5.
700 crowns?
Yes, sir.
For Cerebus?
Yes, sir. And all I ask is that you remember
Haddon, Haddon and Dip, gold-plated street lamps.
I see that we have an understanding. Sorry to have interrupted you.
Cerebus doesn't get it.
Excuse me. Greeley. Ned Greeley. Of Greeley, Bleecker and Spleen.
Don't tell Cerebus. Let him guess. You want to tell Cerebus something.
Why, yes,
You want Cerebus to remember it.
Why, yes,
Did you bring your checkbook?
Why, yes,
Sit down.
An hour later.
Checks and bank drafts for over 5,000 crowns. and they haven't even brought the wine yet. Time for Cerebus to ask somebody some questions.
From far away have I come to see famous the aardvark Cerebus, please.
Close enough, have a seat.
Most greatly. I am telling you something, okay? I am telling you there is too much sewage. Name will be scores and sons. Est Bedouin Sorea since 1266.
And what do you hope Cerebus can do for you?
Sewage is problem solving. Build pipes underground. Away the sewage. Much saving. Easy to install. Reduced to percent smell of 50. No more.
Terran,
Am all I asking is famous the aardvark
to remember sewage pipes and scores and sons. Famous the aardvark promises to remember. Now, watch Famous's lips. What do you want Famous the aardvark to remember it for?
Naturally for talking at Lord Julius. Famous the aardvark is famous supervisor of the staff kitchen. Talk at Lord Julius.
Oh ho!
Talk at Lord Julius. Sewage. Drive it right through his brain.
Why not drive it through his brain yourself?
Already tried. Send letters, junior partners, and promotional brochure. Finally go to Palnu, contact head of purchasing, governmental myself. Hoy, is very, very long story. Maybe boring, famous the aardvark.
Don't worry, Famous hasn't even had his yak yet. Drive it through Famous's brain.
Head of purchasing, governmental, tell me he is take only care of Department of Interior. Tell scores, go see Baskin. Go see Baskin. Talk at Baskin. Sewage. Baskin say, inquiries regarding public utilities are to be directed to the Undersecretary of the Internal Security Task Force on Aging in the Home. Scores fill out forms for hour and a half. 2 weeks later, scores get official communication from Office of the Undersecretary of the External Affairs Task Force on Aging in the Streets. Inside, scores find formal declaration of war and invitation to Festival of Petunias. Unfortunately, scores had no army and no place to rent costume. Comes in next communication. Special one time only, too good to truly be offered. Office of Communications and Obfuscation make available to valued customers a directory of Palnu's executives, study groups, and department heads. Small charge for handling. With tax, consulting fee, and labor charges, directory come to only 49 crowns. 2 weeks later comes next note. Owing to increased costs, directory now cost 249 crowns. Send more money with courier. Next letter arrives from the Office of Central Information. Letter thanks Scores and Sons for contribution to Lord Julius's study group examining metropolitan forestry. Letter apologized for delay in answering. Scores write letter to study group demanding copy of directory. Next letter arrive. Study group dissolved by Lord Julius owing to lack of forest areas in metropolitan centers. Letters say, Lord Julius considering idea of a directory. We'll get back to scores. Every time mail arrive, scores break out in hives. Warming to his subject, Scores begins to make a case for Cerebus becoming an employee of Scores and Sons. But the Earth Pig's thoughts are already elsewhere as he thinks back to his days in Palnu. He's not so greatly surprised by his reception now. He remembers the lines of businessmen, cabinet ministers, and underlings that daily passed through the doors of Lord Julius's office, all with the same disgusting look of well-dressed beggars whining for a handout he now saw across the table. Sipping thoughtfully from his finger bowl, Cerebus decides that he has had enough of this aggravation. There was only one thing that would alleviate his foul mood. Cerebus had to find someone to beat up.
To tell you the truth, Lord Julius already has a plan for Palnu's sewage. He intends to have it molded into huge balls and rolled downhill into Onliu territory. Cerebus has to leave now.
But I'll bet you don't remember me. Cerebus, sir, if I could just talk to you for... Cerebus, over here. Cerebus, sir. Sir, I represent the guild. Sir, I've been waiting for an hour. If we could just... Excuse me, Cerebus. If I could have a minute or so... I met you in Palnu during the festival. Excuse me, Cerebus, but...
Belch!
The nerves of a riverboat gambler. Easily one of the top 3 negotiators in Astasian. What panache, what style. If I had someone like him on staff, you can see why Lord Julius trusts him with such a sensitive cabinet position.
Now, who does Cerebus hate enough in Est to beat up? Von Kreuter. Aye. A few old scores to settle with that idiot. There's an extra 20 crowns for you if we reach the docks within the hour.
Sorry, sir, I'm waiting for Mr. Karen.
Mr. Karen will have to find himself another cab. Let's go.
Get away from that cab, you scruffy little hoodlum. Take that, and be grateful that I don't have you arrested, urchin.
You just made a big mistake, Mr. Karen.
Of all the impertinence, maybe this will teach you to not talk back to your betters. And this, and...
All right, that's enough. You want to fight? We'll fight. Without this.
That cane has been in my family for 100 years, you misshapen little gutter snipe. I was willing to let you go after a few punitive blows. Now, although I deplore violence in the streets, I am afraid I shall have to thrash you to within an inch of your worthless life.
Whenever you're ready, Blondie.
I shall try my best to refrain from causing you any permanent injury.
Cerebus has been waiting all day for this, Blondie.
Cerebus? Well, this is a stroke of luck. Karen, of Karen, McKeel, and Benny.
Stow it, Blondie. Cerebus is gonna beat you to a pulp.
Oh, of course. In fact, I insist. I'm sure it's the least I can do after being such an absolute pig.
You mean you're just gonna stand there while Cerebus beats you to a pulp?
Exactly so. Here, let me make it easier for you.
Cerebus doesn't believe this.
All I ask is that you not hold this against my company. They can be of great help to Palnu.
Gah!
Wait! I'm letting you beat me up. Please, my company has been trying to get a contract with Palnu for 5 years. If my partners find out that I met Cerebus the Aardvark and that he hit him, please, you've got to beat me up.
Tear him! Driver, the docks.
Please, give me my copy of the directory, you little swine. Do you hear? 700 crowns already, and you have the nerve to ask another 50 for staples. You're not fooling anyone. You hear me? Give me my directory, or I'll...
Any specific address, sir? Aye, but first Cerebus is gonna need a 50-pound sack of flour.
That might be difficult, sir. All the shops are closed.
Cerebus is willing to pay 50 crowns.
Eh? There's a grocer in the next street, sir. I can ask him. Much pounding later.
What's this all about? Do you know what time? Never mind that. I got a live one in the cab, willing to pay 5 crowns for a 50-pound bag of flour. If you've got one handy, I'll split the 5 with you. Let me get my keys.
And so, you're quite sure that's where you want to go, sir?
Cerebus hired you to drive, not to ask stupid questions.
Very good, sir. You're quite sure you don't want me to wait here for you then, sir?
No, Cerebus is apt to be here for a while.
As you say, sir. The Ram's Lord's Tavern. Since the turn of the century, the gathering place for every sadistic seaman with 3 months' pay and shore leave. It was said that the Ram's Lords had claimed more lives than the Revolution in Upper Felden. But then Cerebus was looking for a fight.
Hey, scumbag! Over here!
The insult is not directed at anyone in particular. As a result, everyone takes it personally. For a moment, the entire tavern is deathly silent, but only for a moment.
Got him!
Break the little rat in half!
Cripple him!
Pull his ears off!
Impossible odds, mentally unbalanced foes, cramped quarters for a good punch-up, and people say Est has no nightlife. What in...
The dock police!
Dock police! It's a trap! Get back! Dock police! Cerebus thought the dock police never come into the Ram stores. Captain Illodge's waterfront special security, my lord. What did you call Cerebus? Directive 23/A, ranking diplomatic representative of any southern city-state under protection of and/or observation by Eastern government forces, including city guards, borough constabulary, or such internal security forces as are deemed necessary by the government, shall be addressed at all times as my lord. Directive 23/B, ranking diplomatic representative, is to be addressed only by the highest ranking member of the Eastern government force in question. I'm afraid we lost sight of your cab about 3 blocks from here. Shall I report our failure to keep up with you and have the men flogged, my lord? Not unless Cerebus gets to do the flogging himself. I'm sorry, my lord. Directive 23/C specifically forbids ranking diplomatic. Right. Cerebus is going back to his hotel, okay? Right you are, my lord. We'll just take 10 minutes to assign you a security team. Good. That'll give Cerebus a 10-minute head start. But, my lord, this is a dangerous city. At any moment, a gang of drunken thugs could come at you out of nowhere. Vicious cowards without scruples, or it's been a bad day, Captain. Don't try to cheer Cerebus up.